Well, of course, I am a fan of Narendra Modi. There is no doubt about that. And I mean, the man is so awesome in so many respects. So, what's wrong in being a fan? India is my identity.
Okay.
I mean, even if I go outside, when you say you are an Indian, there's a part of the country in you. Even Sachin Tendulkar had to start with a debut match. So, that's how you start your experience somewhere.
Bengaluru South has a new candidate, a surprise candidate. It's not Tejasvi Anandkumar as we thought. It is Mr. Tejasvi Surya. And what do you have to tell us, as a candidate from Bengaluru South?
He's well into his campaign, so he's experienced the people's power to some extent. So you share with us your, thoughts and how you are, what you have to say about this democratic process.
I think this whole process of electoral politics, where such a large number of people make a decision about how they want to choose their representative, is a very overwhelming experience. And it's also incredible in so many ways, because the most common man has a collective intelligence of the people, where they would have arrived at some decisions already, and they would have arrived at a decision based on a lot of parameters. So when you go and talk to the people, you kind of get to know what they're thinking, what their pulse is. And when you are actually going on campaigning, it's that pulse of the people that you experience each moment. And in the last week or so, since the announcement of my nomination, I have been experiencing a lot of positivity. People are extremely enthusiastic about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's re-election campaign. And I think the primary agenda in this election is whether Prime Minister Modi should be re-elected or not. That's the only agenda, basically. And people are showing great enthusiasm towards Modi, because just the name Modi today represents aspirations of a new India. It represents a strong and prosperous India, an India which is now spearheading and catapulting into the 21st century with renewed confidence. And when you're young, you're naturally very aspirational. And the Prime Minister has catered to this aspirational feeling of the young Indians.
Yeah. That is about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we are familiar with his ideas about India. We have been seeing his government, how he runs his government the last 5 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the new element in that story, in fact the newest element in the story. So tell us what India means to you. What is the India that you are looking forward? What does India mean to you?
Wow, it's such a big question. What does India mean to me? India means so much to me. It means the land which has given me the physical aspect of what I am today. It is also the idea that you need to embrace things for what they are and seek and pursue truth and truth alone in a courageous manner. India to me also means the spirit of humanity to take everyone along together. India to me means a marriage of the old and the new. India to me also means being the oldest and the youngest country at the same time, and living with such contradictions and possibilities. India to me also means a functioning anarchy on one side, and also the possibility of a superpower of tomorrow. So I think India to me means India is my identity. Okay. I mean, even if I go outside, when you say you are an Indian, there's a part of the country in you.
Yeah. So what kind of India would you like? That is what you say is more of a philosophical idea of India. But you are also associated with somewhat, it is an image, whether it's right or wrong, that you believe in an exclusivist idea of India. So what exactly do you want India to be? So if you get elected 5 years from hence, what is the India that you want? Because
Like
you are
I
also a
mentioned-
young aspirational voice.
Like I mentioned earlier, India to me means the spirit of inclusiveness, the spirit of accepting everyone, the spirit of not just tolerating different points of view, but accepting them as as true in their own right. And it is wrong to associate the idea of Hindutva to mean exclusivist. I think there needs a interpretation or a renewed approach towards reinterpretation of the idea of Hindutva, because Hindutva, at least to me personally, means seeing the idea of a strong, prosperous, inclusive India where no man is left alone and no man is considered untouchable in the national mainstream growth story. And so ensuring jobs for everyone, ensuring there is a roof on everyone's head, ensuring that every Indian gets adequate nutrition, that every Indian woman gets respect and is treated with dignity and is afforded with equal economic and educational opportunities. And an India where individual freedoms are respected and we are liberal in the true sense of the term. I think that's what Hindutva to me precisely means. And I think if all these days we haven't articulated it in that sense, then it's time for us to re-articulate it in the way it is meant to be.
Okay, that brings me to the current situation. Were you surprised about being picked as a candidate, and do you think you were deserving?
Well,
I remember your first tweet, which said OMG,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of comments on that.
yeah. Of course, I was surprised that it was me who was chosen individually, but I wasn't surprised by the fact that the party had decided to groom a young leader. Because the party, if you look at the BJP's history, the party has traditionally made attempts to groom young and future leadership all along. That has been the party's fundamental principle of organization building, because that's how ideology-driven parties function, unlike dynasty-driven parties like the Congress. I have not been a stranger. I have proved that there are a few qualities of mine which, if honed properly and given enough opportunities, will be can be exploited to its potential, fullest potential. Well, of course, I am a fan of Narendra Modi. There is no doubt about that. And I mean, the man is so awesome in so many respects. So what's wrong in being a fan of Narendra Modi?
So was there a sense of discomfort when, given the fact that you have a long history with the family, personal relation with the family, was there a discomfort? Because it was taken for granted that, she's going to be the candidate,
Yeah.
locally we proposed her name.
Yeah, for some time there was some sort of a confusion. I wouldn't call it discomfort, but I think this long-standing relationship which I have had with Tejasvi Anantkumar ma'am and Anantkumar sir kind of helped me get their blessings very quickly. There was no animosity, acrimony, at least personally at our levels.
Right.
Because when I went to submit my nominations, even before I went and submitted, the first thing that I did was to go and seek the blessings of Tejaswini ma'am before doing anything else, and she wholeheartedly blessed me. My campaign pitch is twofold. The first is that the main agenda of this election, like I mentioned earlier, is to choose whether you want Modi to continue as Prime Minister or not. Second, when you have a strong and stable government at the center, then a lot of other benefits follow, which you can work as an MP. For example, the Bangalore Suburban Rail project was something that was announced in the last budget. Now, if you don't have a government in the center which does not fulfill your, a political will, then what is the purpose of being an MP who can't do anything. The role of a parliamentarian is to participate in policy making in a informed, educated and intelligent manner. For far too long, our political leaders, especially many people, for far too long, our deliberations in the standing committees of Parliament have not been very up to the mark. At least, I wouldn't say that is the whole. I mean, everyone is like that, but I think all of us want better participation, in policy making by our MPs. So when people are electing me, they are aware that they are electing me to the Parliament. Therefore, just like how Anant Kumar sir was a very strong voice of Kannada, and was a strong voice of Kannada when it came Karnataka when it came to matters of water, matters of river agreements, when it came to matter of borders, when it came to matters of any other issues of Karnataka, for that example, he has already set a yardstick, and I want to walk in those footsteps.
You talk to a bus conductor, you talk to a bus driver, he says, who is this young fellow who has done nothing, who has not even contested maybe?
Even Sachin Tendulkar had to start with a debut match. So, that's how you start your experience somewhere. Even as a 22-year-old, you were speaking on matters of national security, you were speaking on issues like Bangladeshi infiltration in Bangalore. You were speaking on issues of women's reservation. I mean, my thoughts may evolve, but it just shows that I have been engaging with policy issues that matter to the country from a very young age. Dissent, of course, is not anti-national at all. Calling for violence and jung against the country is anti-national. Now, if you are asking openly for dismemberment of India, balkanization of India, then that is something that is anti-constitutional. Because the Constitution of India, in its very first few articles, defines what is the territory of India. And the ones who want this territory of India to be balkanized also call themselves to be the greatest constitutionalists. This is the greatest irony that is being played out in the Indian, political discourse today.
Yeah, so what do you think Mr. Advani was talking about?
Ma'am?
It's all over the papers today. He wrote a blog.
Yes.
Where he's talked about that you cannot be anybody who's questioning the policies of the government, talking against the government or against.
Yes, that is precisely
BJP
our
does
point.
not mean that they are anti-national.
Precisely
what do you
our
think he
point.
was trying to say?
All he's trying to say is, do not make your hatred for the BJP or the Prime Minister hatred for India.
No, yeah.
No, that's precisely what, that's my understanding of his writing. Because, look at the statement that the Congress candidate of Bangalore South had made right after Pulwama attack. He said Pulwama attack is a match fixing between the Prime Minister of India and Pakistan. And what was the effect of that statement? That statement was used by Pakistani press and Pakistani parliamentarians to buttress the argument of Pakistan to the detriment of India's interests. Well, if you want to criticize the Prime Minister for taking a particular action, or if you want to criticize the Prime Minister and his government for intelligence failure and not, whatever, there are 100 things in which you can, live up to the job of a constructive opposition. Do that. But why do you want to go to the extent of making anti-India remarks? What is anti-national according to me is those things which fall under these reasonable restrictions that have been put under the Constitution. So you are free to criticize the government. You are free to criticize any functionary of any political functionary in the government, but you can't call for violence against the state. You can't say, let us have tukde of Bharat, because that is unconstitutional, because it violates the very first, article of the Constitution.
Who do you think supports the tukde?
Well, I personally think that all those people who do not believe in constitutional values, freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom of religion, whichever ideology is exclusive in that sense, do not represent the soul and spirit of India. It may
Who are
be
these people? Who
well,
do you
communists for instance.
So you think the chief minister of Kerala is an anti-national?
Despite being a communist, he may be a good man. 5 or 6 years ago, in our farmhouse, there was a Ayudh Puja. I was sitting with sickles and farm equipments, and that was the picture that I had posted. Now, if someone wants to take that picture and say I'm a Hindutva terrorist with machetes, and then morph a few images and put something here and there, then I mean that just shows they are still stuck to the old school of negative politics. I don't want to tread that path. The Prime Minister has reposed a lot of faith in me and has asked me to my candidature is a statement of ushering in a new generational shift in politics, where politics is made conducted in a very respectful fashion with a positive agenda and on your strength and not on hitting at the weakness of your opposition. So that's the path that I would want to tread on.
RSS has evolved from Savarkar's idea of a majoritarian Hindu rule and Muslims not being part of that idea of India. RSS idea of his idea of India. Do you cater to that, since you were saying that he's one of your inspirational?
So, ma'am, if I've read Savarkar, it doesn't mean that I subscribe to everything that Savarkar has said, in toto from, like the first line of his writing to the last line. In the same way, if, there are a few things of agreement and a few things of disagreement, even with what I read with Vivekananda or Ambedkar or with Sri Aurobindo, or for that matter, any other writers of today. If you are an independent thinker, then you agree with something and you disagree with something. So, I don't necessarily subscribe to all his views.